and Laura Gass, and the institution is the Central Africa Baptist University. From July 24th to August 3rd, we were able to take a trip there, a team of us that I'll introduce in just a moment. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the ministry there in Zambia to set the context for what you're going to hear from the other guys. In Kitwe, Zambia, it's a fairly large city there, somewhat modern, but surrounded by the kind of thing that you would expect if you're going to a third world country in Africa. But Kitwe itself has a lot of modern features. And 30 years ago, Phil Hunt went to Kitwe and planted a church. God blessed that church such that it was able to plant another and another and another. And as a result of that, they had the wherewithal and the reach to begin having Native Africans come to Kitwe to get trained for ministry and in theology. So they started Central Africa Baptist University. And they've also started some other satellite ministries, a few of which you'll hear about in our presentation. So from July 24th to August 3rd, a team of 6 of us were able to visit, and with travel on the front and the back, we were actually able to be there 6 full days. We left on Wednesday evening, the 24th, and because there's a 6-hour time difference, Zambia is 6 hours ahead of us. Then we arrived on Thursday night at 10 o'clock their time. We spent the night on Thursday night. Friday morning, we left the hotel and got to the airport. 2-hour flight from the airport, 2-hour drive to our final destination. So we got to our final destination on Friday the 26th in the afternoon, and we started our observation tour there in earnest the following day, on Saturday, the 27th. And our friends there, our hosts there, had a very good itinerary for the 6 of us. And the 6 of us are those guys out in front of the Ndola, the airport in Ndola. And I'm going to, because we had 6 of us and the itinerary over 6 days, shook out in ways that had 5 sections that we thought we could tell you about. Then each of the other 5 guys is going to take one of those topics and come up one after the other for about 5 minutes and tell you what they experienced in that particular aspect of our trip. So we're going to begin with Clay Weaver, and then Mark Hunter is going to follow him, and then John Roberts and Bryce Fight, and then Cameron Hunter. Clay.
All right, how's it going? Pretty short, I gotta put this down. All right, so so I'm taking over the orphanage portion. So I only have 5 minutes, I'm gonna go kind of quick. So just some context for why I'm not in some of the later photos also is because I actually got sick. On the trip, I was out for about 2 full days and missed a few things. But I did get to experience this day, and it was really amazing, and if the trip was just this day, it would have been completely worth it. So our second day in Zambia, we were picked up to go to a place called Faith Children's Village. This is an orphanage that was started by a church plant of Phil Hunt, and it's essentially a school/orphanage. So people can go there that may have lost their parents due to death or abuse or things like that. And the kids there, they get a gospel education as well as housing, food, etc. So we got picked up by a guy named Isaac. So this is us driving there. Isaac himself was a graduate of the school and attended the orphanage from a very young age. So this is him as an adult, moving past the orphanage, serving Faith Children's Village there as an employee, giving us a ride to the village. The trip took about an hour. I think normally if the roads were in good condition, it probably would have taken 20, 30 minutes, but it took an hour because the roads were terrible and there were dirt and huge holes in the road, so he had to be very, maneuver very well through all these holes, and it took a long time. So let's see, let's go next. These are the grounds of the orphanage. This is like the outdoors, so they would have, some playground stuff outside, and then these buildings that were kind of separated on this property. That's one of the buildings right there. So that person right there who's pointing to that hut is Makuka, and he's kind of the person who's in charge of Faith Children's Village, is kind of like the manager, if you will, headmaster. He was giving us a tour and was showing us that small structure there where FCV actually started back in 2006. So he was telling us about it, telling us about the philosophy and mission behind FCV, that they're really about making disciples of Jesus Christ, and told us all about that. So after we got this kind of introduction, as soon as we got there, he's showing us around. After that, we were able to meet some of the kids. Now, there's about 90 orphans who are part of FCV currently, so we got to meet some of them. So those are some kids there. That's me with Bryce Fight. And we got to just go up to the kids. They were really shy, but also really happy to see us and interact with us. That was really cool. Got to ask them stuff like, hey, what kind of sports do you like to play? Where do you play soccer at around here? And really talk to them and interact with them. After we did that, we played a game called Steal the Bacon. So we got in a square and lined up, and basically someone from each side has to run out, grab the cone in the middle, and bring it back. And if you get the cone back to your side, you get a point. Or if you tag someone who's holding the cone, then you get a point. And we were no match for these kids. They were really fast, except for John Roberts. He was able to get the bacon. So that was cool. So then after we did that, we went back. There was this kind of outside area, and I gave my testimony in front of the kids, as well as Bryce and Cameron. We got to talk about how God saved us. So I talked about when I got saved when I was 19, and Cameron did that as well. And then Pastor Ken gave up to give his own testimony. We sang songs with the kids and, clapped with them, sang with them. And then we had, what they do for birthdays is at the end of the month, they say, okay, who had a birthday for that month? We all celebrated together. We sang happy birthday for the kids whose birthday it was for July. And then they came up in a line, and they had small portions of cake for the kids, which was really nice. Then after we were done with that, we actually split up into teams of 2 and got to go into the dorms of the orphans. So me and Bryce actually went into the girls' dorms with Makuka. You can see him standing there. And then there's girls at the table, and they were serving us food. So they had chicken and this meal called enshima, which is like a corn meal. And they were serving us, and we got to talk to them and fellowship with them, which was awesome. I remember one of the girls there, she was 16, her name was Leia, and we were kind of going around asking them, because we just did the birthday thing, and we were just curious, what do you want for your birthday, because they do get presents. And I remember Leia said that her birthday is in October, and she really wanted a Bible with her own name on it, which I thought was really sweet. So this is actually us. After we were done eating, we sat down all together on these couches that are in the dorm, and the girls are lined around, and they sang us some songs. So I wanted to show you a video of them singing, because I'm not exaggerating when I say they have amazing, beautiful voices. Like, their voices blew me away, honestly, and made me really emotional. So I have a couple videos just of them singing to share with you. They're really short, so I'll just play them.
Was given unto us. That we should be called the sons of God. That we should be called the sons of God.
And then, that's basically it. One of the things I got out of the trip is just seeing people who dedicated their entire lives to showing people Christ. People who even left everything they had in America to go work there. Like, there was Brad and Helen were 2 individuals who moved from the United States to go help at this orphanage and gave up everything to teach these people who otherwise would have been completely lost in the world, not just about Christ, but to educate them, give them medical care, food, and show them love, show them Christ, which is really amazing to see. So yeah, that's it for me. And now we're going to talk about the churches.
Good morning. I'd like to spend a few minutes this morning just talking about the churches we visited on Sunday and then on Monday while we were in Africa. On Sunday, everyone except for Pastor Ken attended Faith Baptist Church Riverside, and we really enjoyed the worship service that morning. A little closer. Is that good? We really enjoyed the worship service that morning and thought their pastor, Chapo, who started there in 2016, really did an excellent job preaching the word. Fortunately for us, the preaching was in English and some of the songs. However, there were some songs, including How Great Thou Art, in the Bemba language. And I have a picture, so that's a shot of Faith Baptist Church Riverside, and then the inside there. So as you can see, we sat really toward the front of the building there. And when we started, there weren't really a lot of people that were in attendance. And a couple minutes into it, I turned around and saw a few more people. And then several minutes later, I turned around and it was starting to get pretty full. And I thought, how ironic. I'm halfway around the world in Africa, and they must have a train around here just like we do in Woodhaven. So this is a shot after the service of everybody coming out. It was pretty neat. They do something similar to what we do with community groups in that they discuss application questions regarding the sermon. They just do it right after the service. So you can see a couple benches there in the lower right-hand corner, and they'll break up. They were all throughout the land and inside the building too. That we're able to discuss that sermon. The other thing that was nice too, we were able to meet with the Shermans and Matt Gass. They both attend Faith Baptist there, so we're able to see them and interact with them and really enjoy talking to them for the first time. So, all right, so I mentioned Pastor Ken wasn't with us on Sunday, so he actually was preaching at Kitway Church, and that's where Phil Hunt pastors. It was nice, however, for the rest of the team, though, we all got to attend there Sunday evening. Kitway Church turned into a church plant that was sent from Faith Baptist, and both were started by Phil there. On Monday, the team spent some time traveling to different churches with Phil in areas like Chapata, Kwacha, Wasaluski. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing those words correctly, but I do have a short video of our drive to Chapata. And I'll play that now.
Whatever you want is found in this little stretch. This building to the right is
It's
a
actually
bar.
Phil talking.
The right choice? Yeah, the right choice bar.
It's taken from a band.
And
back
then
window, so
straight
apologize,
forward where
it's
those
a little
guys are
cloudy.
sitting by that blue wall, they're already drinking. See that white container?
Okay.
They're dipping corn beer out of those buckets. So Monday morning, what time is it? 10 o'clock, they're already drinking. So that's a bar. That place here on the left is a bar. The light blue and white is a bar. Behind this stick fence where these guys are sitting already, that's a bar.
Oh.
So alcohol is massive issue.
So you may have heard Phil sharing with us some of the main struggles of the people there. He talked about how prevalent drunkenness, witchcraft, and immorality was in that community. One of the differences between the two countries, in the U.S., we would look through things with more of a natural lens. So let's say if somebody was sick, we would ask, so what do you have? And they would say, well, I have a cold or I have the flu. Where in Africa, they would look through more of a spiritual lens, so the sick person would be asked, well, who sent that? Hence their perceived need to consult with a witch doctor. All right, so next shot is so this is a picture of the inside of the church building in Chapata. So you can see Phil mentioned that it took about 6 years to support church plants before they can support themselves in that area. Another thing that Phil said that really stood out to me, and this coming from somebody that was responsible for a university, but he said that theology is not a hat on your head, but boots on your feet. CABU, that Central Africa Baptist University's vision for the success of these healthy, reproducing churches is based in part on training the next generation of servant leaders with boots on their feet, who are willing to live out the Great Commission in places just like that, all across Zambia and beyond. I've got a couple more pictures here on our way to Wusaliki. Another shot there, just some roadside shots, and then a picture of their sign out front. And then us praying with the pastor there at Wusaliki Faith Baptist Church. And really what a privilege it was that we could pray with these men, some of the requests that they made, that God would grant them wisdom, strength, and faithfulness, that he would raise up help from within the church, and that there would be much fruit. You know, one of the reasons we went to Africa was to really come alongside the missionaries and the brothers and sisters we support there and be of an encouragement to them. But really, as it turned out, we were the ones who were being greatly encouraged as we saw what God was doing through them as they faithfully lived out the gospel. So, thank you.
Well, I want to start out by saying that I had absolutely no idea that that game was called Steal the Bacon. And if you want the full story of how I ended up in a sling, because I had to wrestle a wild boar, come see me. So I get to bring you one of the many days that we were able to visit CABU, as we call it, Central African Baptist University. As Pastor Ken mentioned, after the planting of several churches, the realization for the need for further in-depth theological training was realized. So with that, they started CABU, established in 2004 and holding its first classes in 2006 with 12 students. This was the building they were in, the center building that you can see there. The building on the lower left, they built for administrative purposes. And it's kind of humbling to see their humble beginnings, you know, for a university. 2008, they bought some additional property that looked really nice. Had a little bit of work to be done. They turned that piece of property into this. Now, their original intention for this building was for raising funds to help support the university. So it was, as it's called in the top corner there, Link Conference Center. So it was all different businesses that was generating income for the university. Now they quickly, with the realization of enrollment and students, they realized that they needed more space administratively. So they kind of booted some of those folks out and purchased the property behind this building and started to continue their campus. They did keep a coffee house in there that's still there now. So behind this building is the campus of CABU that consists of several outbuildings. Tertullian, it's a building in which they do some of their teaching. We can't really see that, that's Augustine Hall, which has more areas for teaching. It has dormitory living for some of the students. It has administrative offices inside. Matt Gass was there in his office while we were there. And they also have a Christian radio station. They do live broadcasts of some of the messages, music, talk shows. It was pretty cool to see that was going on inside that building.
and I know I was gonna forget how to say this, I don't know, Chris knows how to say it.
This is their student center. It's where they hold their chapel services, lunch. It's much like this room here, but considerably larger. You know, they can do game activities and stuff like that in a multi-purpose room. We returned there on Thursday for Thursday morning chapel. And at the same time, they were also honoring a pastor that had lost his life. And they were just, acknowledging his service for the Lord, and they gave out several scholarships in his name for future students for CABU. So they, let's see, I want to see this here. To date, CABU has graduated over 700 students. This is both in degrees of education and biblical studies. Sign language is a very big thing there. They've had like 75, I think, graduates, they said, of sign language. And there's currently, I couldn't believe the number when I read it, 2,000 enrollees of what they're calling the TSE program. This is Theological Studies by Extension. When Bryce gets up, he's going to talk to you about Pastor Allen. And that's a lot of the work he does there, bringing in pastors from the Congo and teaching them at his area. During the service, we were able to sing along with them, and I wanted to see if you guys can figure out what song this is. That was in Bemba, in case you were wondering. So still behind this building, we get to their next building that they're working on. This is going to be their new library. This is going to house administrative offices that are in the Augustine Hall now, where Matt Gass is. He gets a new office in here. They're going to be transferring all their books from the current library into this building, but they also have 30,000 additional books being shipped in a container to them. These have been donated, and when they're all in this library, this is going to be the largest Christian library in Zambia, quite possibly all of Africa. Pretty amazing. Didn't think I'd get to. All right, but wait, we're not done. We have another building behind that is the Imbala, I can't see it on the back one there, Imbala Publishers. Another amazing work that's been started there. They have an agreement with a couple of publishing companies that allow them to republish and print their material. They're able to print the material they need for the studies there at CABU. And they also print some of the material that's used for that TSE program that Pastor Allen works. Challenging part about the printing press business here is that, and why we don't have any pictures of the inside, is there's no power. They get power at like a little bit after midnight, and it's on for maybe 6 hours every day. So the employees come in, they do their work until the power turns out, and then they're done for the day. That was the same at the place where we were staying. When we went to the Hunts and the Shermans, there was no power. They battery lights and stuff. So there's so much that we could tell you about this trip. 5 minutes does not do it justice. So you might want to say, wow, Phil Hunt has really done an amazing job. And I kind of talked to him a little bit about that. And he kind of cringes when you try to give him the credit for anything that's been done there. And it's very impressive when you talk to him. And he's very direct in making you understand that it's not him. This is all God's glory, what's going on there. It's God's glory that's given him the privilege to serve in a way that advances his kingdom by helping these men and women and training them so that they can go out
to their cities and plant churches and extend God's word. I mean, it's amazing what's going on there. And he's such a humble guy, not to take any of that credit. It's amazing. If you ever get a chance to do something like this, it's not on my script, I might take an extra minute. I made a commitment back in 2003 at our parent church, and I had an opportunity to go to Johannesburg, that anytime something was offered to go, that I would go. And other than one trip to San Diego with the teens, I've gone to Mexico twice with them. This is my third trip to South Africa, and every time it just totally resets your value system. We've got it so easy here. And we complain about the littlest things, but these people love the Lord so much. It's amazing, you know. So if you ever get a chance to go, definitely go and see me about the wild boar issue.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening. So I'm going to start talking about Pastors Alan and Jeremy. And I'm glad I got this day to talk about. This is the one that impacted me the most, I'd say. It was pretty incredible. This is Pastor Alan here and his lovely wife. And behind them there is the front part of their compound. And what we did this day is we were scheduled to go out and to go see this compound and learn about what Pastor Allen does and why it's important and all of that. So we went out there, and one of the things they do there is they watch after kids in the local community that wouldn't maybe necessarily be safe otherwise, wouldn't maybe necessarily get education otherwise. It's pretty rural out there. Their parents are farmers. There's 2 local farms that they go to, and then the kids just kind of hang out on the dirt roads. So what this place does, this gives them safety, refuge. It lets them hear the name of Jesus at a very young age. And we got to meet him. It was a wonderful little community they have over there. Another thing that Pastor Allen does here is this is a place for pastors to come and take refuge and to safely learn what they need to do for their ministry. And this is primarily important for those folks, those pastors from the Congo, where were they to try and do this there, it would not be safe for them. It would not be as wonderful as this. But this is just a quick little. You can see it's quite pretty, and it's the whole inside of this place was so pretty. They had flowers everywhere. It was wonderfully taken care of. Super helpful. We met a guy named Sam, Uncle Sam. He's this Brazilian or Portuguese, Brazilian guy who. He moved over there and left his job, and he works as a mechanic for them over there, and he just helps them out. He fixes up stuff, he paints stuff. That's his ministry. He was talking to us about he doesn't have the voice to do the preaching or the speaking, but he can work with his hands, and he can help them fix stuff up, make sure everything's good, running smoothly. So we got to meet folks like that. It was really wonderful property here. And on this property is Pastor Allen's house. I didn't know this one was video. That's okay though. We were at Pastor Allen's house, and he was able to tell us his testimony. And his testimony was probably the most intense testimony I've ever heard about anybody. I'll run through it real quick. He grew up in the Congo. When he reached an age around my age, he was separated from his family due to a war breaking out. He spent 4 years. Yeah, it was 4. He spent 4 years in what we would call a prison camp, where he said it was the worst of humanity was right there. The absolute worst of it, worst things you can imagine. It was right there. He was stuck in it. And then 4 years later, he was able to flee from that. He found refuge in the States. he joined the military, became a military man for over a decade, and found it in himself to come back to the border of the Congo. He re-met his family, though they each thought they'd never see each other again. They thought, you know, my family's lost. But he went back and he did find them, and through that he met his now wife, who we met. His wife takes care of the local women in this village area and cares after them, gives them counsel, prayer, all the above. And yeah, so he chose to go back there. And he's putting himself on the line doing that. And we got to actually take part in that very specifically that day. We'll get through these two slides. Should have shown them when I was talking about the kids. This is me and Cam. We were laughing with the kids. It was hard to talk to them. A lot of the younger ones, they can't speak English like the adults can, but you just gotta smile and laugh with kids. They're sweet. It's not too hard. And a big group of them. It was really wonderful to see all that. But now here comes the thing I didn't expect, which was this trip to the border of the Congo. Pastor Allen had texted Phil, and he said, "Hey, look, I've got this guy coming over the border, and I got some boxes that I need to give him, and we got to do it right now. So you think these guys can come along?" And Phil's like, "Just make sure they're safe, but I suppose here you go experience it." So we did. Went to the border town of the Congo. It was called Chingola. This is what I saw. You'll see guys, I mean, they're carrying everything. You'll see folks pushing, maybe not exactly, but what we saw folks pushing these bikes. It was one bike, and on that bike it had to have been 200 some pounds of stuff that all 5 guys were pushing. It's just, I don't know, it's just stuff that I've never seen before. Took me by surprise. And well, we got through the town. It took quite a bit amount of time, and about an hour and a half to get there. Deep, heavy, thick traffic, cars going every which way. We eventually posted up at this gas station where, it was a pretty rough gas station. And there we met Pastor Jeremy. And Pastor Jeremy came from this same day, came from the border of the Congo, crossed over, and he was in danger doing this. And he met us in our van. And me at this moment, well, I'm in the border town. I'm in a border town next to the Congo, and we're giving this pastor 66 French Bibles that he can't get on the other side of the border. So I look a little bit solemn right there. Everyone's smiling. I realize once I retook a look at this picture, and I'm a little solemn right there. And that's because I think in that moment, right after that, Pastor Allen had asked me to pray for everybody and pray for the situation, and it just really fell on me heavily. You know, the gravity of where I was, what I was doing, the car that I was in, and the faith of these 2 pastors that I had met. And that's the main thing that I wanted to get to. I want to be a tough, strong guy. You know, I'm growing. I want to be. I think men want to be like that. But I think we also want to do it of our own volition. You know, we want to be strong because, like, I can do it. But Pastor Allen, Pastor Jeremy, these are probably the toughest dudes that I've ever laid eyes on. And well, it's not of their own volition. It's through faith that, truly, it's through faith that these guys are doing what they're doing, putting themselves on the line, and because they believe so firmly in the purpose that they have, and that brought me home. That brought me home with a new vision for life. Big key takeaway for me is if you have faith, have faith. It's key. That's it. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Cam Hunter. I am son of Mark and Marcy Hunter. If you don't know them, it's probably because they don't get out much. Just kidding. Although I do lean towards being an introvert, I have always had a fascination for people. So today I want to talk about some of the individuals that we met in our time in Africa. This image here is at the compound that Bryce just talked about. This is us all praying together. The first individual I would like to talk about is Mayamba. For context, he is on the right here. When we arrived in Ndola, Mayamba was standing with a big smile at the airport, with some of our names written on a piece of paper. Little did we know, but he was going to be our driver for 90% of the week. Mayamba is a kind soul, and you can tell that he was genuinely happy to drive us around wherever we needed to go. Even though I'm sure he had more important things to do in his early mornings and his late nights. Over the course of our trip, I got to know Mayamba on a more personal level. I can confidently say that he is a faithful follower of Jesus. This next image here is of the Lifesong Lodge. This is where we stayed in our time in Zambia. This is the shot of the front of the building here. To the left, you will see the entrance there. There were rooms on the left as well as rooms on the right. So on that, not the first window you'll see on the left, but the second window is where Bryce and Clay were. The window after that was Mark and I. And the last window was John. And then over on the right side, somehow Pastor Ken got the penthouse suite. Here's an image of the backside of the lodge. To the left there, you will see, well, you can't really see it, but that's where we ate in the mornings, drank our coffee. And then to the right there, through the door, is where they had the shop with food, drinks, and coffee as well. Here are some of the members that were on staff at the lodge. Ethel, you'll see there, is in the middle. Most days she would serve us coffee in the morning, and she would fulfill any other absurd food requests that we had. She was attentive to detail, and she was a sweetheart to all of us. I didn't get the names of the other two men, but I can assure you they make some of the best coffee that you'll ever have in your life. It's fantastic. Here's an image of Phil Hunt grilling us some dinner. He is one of the founders of Central Africa Baptist University, as you had heard earlier. We were able to enjoy the company of Phil and his family throughout the entire trip. His leadership, character, and passion for Christ is truly remarkable. There is no question that Phil is on fire for the Lord. For me as a young man, there is so much wisdom and knowledge that I can gain from someone like Phil. We were able one of the days to share a meal with him out at a complex. And I know I can speak for Bryce, Clay, and I that as young men we were able to take in so much knowledge. This man is truly a servant of the Lord. It was also a pleasure to be able to spend time with his wife and his children. This is a picture of Kevin Sherman. Kevin and his wife Sarah have been faithfully serving in Zambia for 10 years. We were privileged to share a meal with the Shermans in their home. Their 3 children, Camille, Tristan, and Arthur, joined us as well. Arthur is around 2 or 3, and he is already claiming to be king as he was eager to show us his sword at dinner. I don't know about you guys, but I think Arthur's a pretty fitting name for a king. Kevin and Sarah shared their story with us from the early days of how they met until the present time now in Zambia. It was special for us to hear their story. These are two individuals who have devoted their lives to Christ, and it was special to see how God has blessed them. That is where my images stop, but I will talk about a couple more people. Unfortunately, I didn't get as many pictures as I would have liked to. Like the Shermans, we were also able to meet with the Gass family. Matt Gass is working at Theological Studies by Extension, which is a program out of Central Africa Baptist University. He and his wife Laura have 4 children. Before moving to Zambia, Matt and his family spent many years in Tanzania. Again, we were able to hear the entire story from the struggles of the early days until now. What really stuck out to me about Matt was his understanding of the Bible. It is evident that he and his family are living out God's will for their lives. I also just wanted to give a shout out to the kids of both of those families. Clearly, those kids didn't choose those lives. Not once did I hear any of the kids complain about their situation. The final person I wanted to talk about was Rachel Johnson. Without Rachel, none of this trip would have been possible. She handled the logistics of our trip from start to finish. This included things like transportation, accommodations, and scheduling. This is a little off topic, but something I've noticed about boomers is that they ask a lot of questions. Not to name any names, but there were 3 older gentlemen on our trip and there was 3 younger gentlemen. Rachel had an answer to almost every boomer question. She has been serving the Lord in Zambia for many years, and there is no sign of her stopping anytime soon. I could go on and on about all the people we met in our time in Africa. It's hard to paint the full picture of everything we saw and experienced, but this I do know. Each and every one of these individuals lives lives of sacrifice unto the Lord. Thank you, everybody.
Well, thank all of you guys very much, all 5 of you. I've already told them, but I enjoyed very much spending the time with them. Thankful to the Lord we were able to do that. I will wrap up by just under just 2 categories. One is if you're thinking about, as you saw this, whether or not in the future you might want to go on one of these trips, that would be great. Think about that. Pray about that. We are thinking that Zambia is certainly one of the best, if not the best place for a team to go for a lot of reasons. One, they mostly speak English there, and so you can get around just fine that way. Kitwe, where CABU and Kitwe Church are based, is, as I said earlier, a fairly modern city, and so Americans can go over and not have very much trouble. Sickness is always a concern. Are you going to catch something when you go over? You heard Clay say that he got sick. Bryce was sick for a little bit there too. Both of them just had the common flu, though. They didn't catch anything native to Africa or any of that. And so, that's all good. You do have these roads that were described a few times when you go off, but it's a place that Americans can go to fairly readily. And that includes the food that you eat as well. So think about and pray about if you'd like to be part of a future trip. We're thinking every 3 or 4 years we would like to send a team over. Our team of 6 was a perfect size. We asked them if we brought more people over, could we? They think maybe up to 10 that you could do, but 10 of us couldn't fit in the vans that they had. We'd have to rent our own van and get our own driver, which is eminently doable because everything with American dollar over there is really cheap, quite doable. So we could do that, but that would probably be max for a team to go, anywhere from, say, 6 to 10. So think about that. You'll be hearing more about trips in the future. And then the second category I wanted to talk about was just our relationship as a church to the whole ministry there. You've seen just a glimpse of what the Lord has been doing in and through them, and the reach that they are beginning to have, not just in Zambia, but in the continent of Africa, throughout the continent. And Phil has a vision for getting the gospel into all of the countries of Africa. And honestly, from a human standpoint, it looks like that's actually doable for them. And so our leadership team has talked about a focus perhaps on Project Africa with them over the next few years, supporting all of our other missionaries, of course, but really helping this move forward. In God's providence, some of you might know the blogger Tim Challies. He's got a huge following, a Christian blog. But Challies, a few years ago, stumbled upon their ministry there. And he did a drone flyover and took pictures and put it on his blog several years ago. That's part of the reason that CABU is getting so much attention, is because Challies helped them to do that. And they've been able to then get some contracts, partnerships with publishing companies here, like Crossway Publishers. So that publishing house that you saw, that only has its 6 hours a day to actually operate, but they have licenses from Crossway to publish their books then in Africa. And Nine Marks Ministries, some of you are familiar with that, and Mark Dever, they have a bit of a partnership with them as well. So God has providentially just brought a number of things together to see that ministry go forward. We are very fortunate to be one of their partners in that. And in the years to come, if we could go several times with teams and then really make that a point of emphasis with regard to our missions outreach, I think it would be a wonderful thing. Last is, I want to thank a couple of people that helped us get over there. Sue Biggs is our church's resident travel agent. And when we started thinking about this, we immediately enlisted Sue's help, and she was a tremendous help with all of her knowledge. Just give you one item that none of us would have known anything about, but she knows that if you're going on a missions trip, if you tell that to the airlines, in our case Delta, then they will often give you more free bags to check in. And so we had 3 bags per person that we could check in, which meant that we could take stuff over on those bags. We didn't need 3 bags. So we could take stuff over that our missionaries needed. And we did that. But we wouldn't have known any of that if it wasn't for Sue. So Sue, and then also James and Erica Donovan, who are our missions coordinators, and they did a ton of work pulling all of this together. So would you guys thank them with me for that? Okay? All right, let's pray and be dismissed. Father, we thank you again for the blessings of this Lord's Day. Thank you for the privilege of being able to worship you with your people. And then in this hour to just see your hand on the ministry there in Kitwe and throughout Zambia and now moving out further into the continent of Africa. Thank you. Thank you for your servants there. Thank you for moving in their hearts to cause them to want to do what they have been doing and look to do in the future. Thank you for letting us go. Thank you for letting us as a church partner with them. And we ask that in the years ahead that partnership would strengthen and that you would use us in a vital way to give them and help them with the resources they need to further your work. Go with us, we ask you, this week as we serve you in the places you've appointed us. Bring us back together next Lord's Day. We pray in the name of Jesus. Amen.